And one of the interesting things that we've got here today is an excellent collection of what are real Speedway bikes. These are not museum pieces that are polished and whatever, but these are things that are actually still being ridden. And one of the things that I remember, and not many people will, is that Speedway, at the end of the after the war, was a massive spectator sport, and in fact, it used to draw crowds much bigger than football at the time. Unfortunately, it declined, and today is struggling a little bit. So we're very fortunate to have a group here that from the South Coast, and I've got with me
Andy Day from Southampton, and my colleagues from Southampton and Portsmouth.
And you are still riding and competing?
No, I don't do it anymore. I packed up. I wasn't that good. I packed up in the early 70s. So a couple of the lads are still riding though.
Right.
Yeah.
Can we just go through, and I'll leave these two because these are modern Speedway bikes, I think. This is a 1972 bike, but let's have a look at what I consider to be a real Speedway bike, which is the 4B Jap engine, etc. And maybe you could just give us a little bit of a rundown on one?
That's right. Well, the Jap engine first put in a Speedway bike in 1928, which is the 1928 engine on this one here, and that was the engine that was raced at Brooklands, their sports engine, and the Jap decided to put it into a Speedway frame, but it was not successful. That was 1928. By 1930, Jap had produced a proper Speedway engine, and that came in 1930 and lasted unchallenged. Everybody rode Japs right up until the end of the 60s, and these are a series of Japs from that period.
So these are running on methanol?
They run on methanol, yes.
High compression?
Yes, about
so
12 to 1.
I recognise here the rear tyres, which I think are not available anymore.
No, just what we can get these days, and that was on the bike when I originally bought it. That bike's got real history. It was ridden in the first meeting at Swindon Speedway in 1949.
And it's still got its old tyre.
I think it must be the original tyre, because it's got a few cracks and that in it, but it's still hanging on there.
And you had to move on to using trials tyres and
whatever. That's right. They started the trials tyres and right through to the modern Speedway bike now use a Turkish tyre and less.
Would you like to if we just move forward a little bit and explain the carburettor on this? Here.
Yeah, that's a dirt track carb, AMO, and twin bowl, which a lot of the early bikes were, and even coming through to this bike, it's got the pre-AMO, which is an AMAC carb.
Right. And these carbs didn't have any needles in them. They were just a slide, and they had the twin bowls for the excessive quantity of fuel that you needed to get into them.
Yeah, that's right.
Because the jet sizes were something like 3 times what you would need for petrol.
Exactly. Yeah.
And running high compression.
Yes. Yeah, about I think they're about 12 to 1 those. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we just move along here. This is a Rotax.
Yeah, that's a Rotax. That was the frames were made in Southampton, up in Shirley in Southampton, sent down to Portsmouth at Blake's for chroming, and then to one of the suppliers in London, Alex Jackson or George Greenwood, who went to the Jap factory, got the engines and made the bikes up to sell from their showrooms in London.
I've ridden one of these when I was about 15 in a field in North Yorkshire, and I don't think I've ever got over it.
It's quite scary. They can be beasts. At least when the 2-valve Jawa came along after the Japs had finished, they were a lot easier to ride.
Yes.
A lot easier. But I couldn't afford one at the time. So
what people probably won't realise is actually the only thing this has got is a clutch. It has no gears.
No, it's a clutch and a throttle, and no brakes, no gears, no brains.
That's where I have the problem. Maybe if we then go back to the end here, to the more modern way that the sport has evolved. So the Jap was, I don't know, 40, 45 brake horsepower, vicious beast of a thing to ride.
Yeah.
And then they moved on and went on to
The 2-valve Jawa from Czechoslovakia came the thing to have, and Barry Briggs, the 4 times world Speedway champion New Zealander, imported them in from Czechoslovakia and sold them from his premises in Southampton. And basically 95% of riders ditched the Japs and rode the Jawa. They were a lot easier to ride. It seems that they were more designed for Speedway.
And the power output's what, up 60, 70 brake horsepower?
Yeah, a little bit more, that's right. Yeah.
And spares available, of course.
Yes, for the 2-valvers, there's a couple of companies in England where you can readily get Jawa spares, sorry. Yeah.
Well, thanks for that. We're doing a demonstration of these, and they have to be ridden in an anti-clockwise way, because if you look carefully, you'll find that the right-hand footrest doesn't allow you to turn right. You've got to turn left.
If you turn right on it, it'll just stick in the ground and throw over the handlebars, unfortunately.
Well, what I realised is a couple of weeks ago that a lot of people don't understand this. The bikes, never mind what Speedway is about. So this is a thing.
Yeah.
So when we do the demonstration, maybe I'll see if I can pick somebody up who's and get his feeling of what it's like to ride on concrete with a Jap engine.
Yeah. Well, a couple of our guys, Rob Snow and Dougie Wooler, are going to be riding. I think Doug's riding the Westlake, and Rob will be riding one of his Japs.
Well, thanks very much, and thanks for coming, because it's this is what this is about. Is how Brooklands was instrumental in developing bikes and engines and whatever, and then moving them into a sport, which was, as I say, was in the 50s and 60s. Was football didn't even have a look in.
No, that's right.
You can see the way the world's going, can't you?
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Anyway, thanks very much.
Thanks.